Now, welcome.
Thank you for having me
I saw
this early in the morning.
Yeah, this
This
early.
early?
Come on now. So we've come across each other in various different
have.
things, and I think
Yeah.
I saw you at a meeting. I enjoyed a council meeting relatively recently, in terms of observing it.
What, the actual council meeting or the futures brainstorming sessions?
I can't remember which one, but
Okay.
you came over to me and you said, you know, I'm a disruptor as well. That's what you said.
Yeah.
And I liked that, and I thought, okay,
It's true.
I think
Yeah.
I think
But
we
in a good
need
way.
disruptors both inside and outside.
No,
politics.
I agree. No, I
Yeah.
100% agree. I just
Yeah.
think it's, I thought, and then I saw your name on the list. I was like, brilliant. This is just a perfect platform for a conversation. So
Yeah.
could you, for those who don't know who you are,
Yes.
introduce yourself?
Yes,
And,
okay.
And what are you speaking up for today?
Okay, so I'm Laura Davenport Ray. I live on Love's Farm. And if you're new to St. Neots, you'll know that that means quite a lot to the people who live in Love's Farm. We have quite a strong community. And so I'm the chair of the Community Association on Love's Farm. And then in May, I became one of the district councillors for the ward that includes Love's Farm and Wintringham. But I'm also a mum. So my son goes to Wintringham School, the big orange building that you see when you go in and out of town through the
Yes,
east.
yeah.
Fantastic school.
Yeah.
And so I see myself as a community leader, or I hope to be a community leader,
Okay.
and then a sort of a politician second. So what am I speaking up for today? We're talking a lot about mental health, and there's a very particular mental health problem that's developing around the world that's called climate gloom, climate
okay.
doom. Have you heard of this
Yeah, I
phenomenon
have.
before?
Yeah, absolutely,
Okay.
I have.
So for those of your listeners and viewers that don't know, in May, I was the first ever Green Party councillor elected to Huntingdonshire District Council. So environmentalism is really close to my heart, and also mental health in young people. And climate doom is where those two ideas collide.
Yeah.
So we've got young people in the country who are getting old enough to understand what's going on with climate, but they have no way of taking any action on it. And so I don't know if you two have suffered with anxiety before. I've experienced
Yes.
anxiety before. And when you're in the middle of it, someone will ask you, how do you describe it? Like, what does that feel like? I don't know. What do you think? What does anxiety feel like?
If I have a major anxiety attack, not major, moment, not attack, I always say moment, I get a really dry throat and I get pounding headache.
I usually respond with, imagine someone is chasing you, and you have that feel of there's something coming.
Yeah.
I'm on the edge. But then if you can sit down and you can think about it thoroughly enough, you realize that's not realistic, that there isn't actually someone chasing you, but it's your brain and your body
Telling
reacting
yourself
in the
that.
way as if you should be defending yourself somehow. So imagine if you're a young person today and you know that this crisis is coming, that there are changes coming in the world, there is this imminent danger, and there's absolutely nothing that you can do about it. So it's an anxiety that, when I have anxiety, it's because it's unreasonable, that there isn't something chasing me. But for these young people, it's completely reasonable to have this anxiety.
Absolutely.
This change is coming in the planet, and there's nothing they can do about it because they're young people and they don't have power. So this is where climate doom, climate gloom comes from. And so I hope I'm part of the group of people in the world now who are trying to work against it and to give them some examples of why it's maybe not so gloomy, although I recognize the gloom myself. So I brought
That's
someone
a great
with
subject.
Yeah, I brought someone with me today
Oh.
to help explain.
Oh, lovely.
Climate
Yeah.
doom.
What it is?
You know who this is?
Greta.
Greta,
This
yeah.
is Greta. And I think that a lot of adults, when they think about Greta, they think about someone who's angry. From when she does speeches like this. So she's a young person, but you think about like maybe she's telling adults off for something, or maybe even seems unreasonably angry. But I guess I would want to use my platform today to say, actually, she's really reasonably angry. And so I brought Greta with me here today, and she's saying something to you, which is listen up, Alex and Luke, and all of the other adults who are listening and watching.
Uh-huh.
And these are some quotes from a recent speech. She says, I want you to panic. I want you to feel the fear I feel every day. And then I want you to act. So Greta has really taken up the role of speaking out for all those young people who don't have a platform, right? So she has a big platform. And so what she's telling adults around the world is young people like me are panicking. And we don't want your kindness. We don't want your pity about that panic. We want you to act because we don't have time for all the platitudes now. So Greta's emotions here are not limited to a small number of young people. It's a growing number of young people, especially as they learn more about what the world has known for so many decades and done nothing about.
So it's a good subject to speak up about.
Yeah. And so I think some of the events you and I have been to, Alex, where we're talking about government and decision making and the lack of ability for young people to have any voice in that is really important. And so I hope that in the years that I have available to have a platform, that I can use my voice to try to echo some of the things that people like Greta are telling me. Because there are young people in our community who are just as worried about these issues as well.
Yeah.
So interesting, right? So with the work we do with the collaboration with Form the Future, and the other work we do with working with young people every single day, like the people from Romsey Mill, like Carl we've just met, and we run enterprise days. So the work we do with Form the Future, we go into a school all around Cambridgeshire, and we might work with 150, 300, 14, 15-year-olds, ranging ages. I would say, and one of the things we do is we kind of open up the first hour to talk about what are some of the challenges that they see in their world, both at a local frame of reference and global. And let's discover those problems. Let's discover those challenges. And then off the back of that, we're going to create solutions to solve them. Welcome to entrepreneurship. Now, I'm a social entrepreneur. And when they see examples of social entrepreneurship being done, CIC,
Yep.
and you'll hear a lot from CICs today. Mike Farrington was on earlier from Concrete Rose. 90%, I'd say 90% of the young people are excited and passionate about being able to solve a problem that they care about, i.e. these problems. So I see that, I hear you. I'll give you another example. November, Anthropy, down in Eden Project in Cornwall. I talked about it when I was at the event at HTC. A lot of young people there, amazing. One of them, a guy called Duro Oya, who owns a CIC in London called 2020 Change. He introduced me to a young guy, 21 years old. I said, "Who are you, young sir?" And he said, "I'm the future Prime Minister." And I asked, and Sam Squire, who's my almost co-founder of Inspire to Ignite, the work we do with curious entrepreneurs, who I think you met, Sam.
Yes, I've met Sam. Yeah.
Right. You'll see his passion for the subject. He asked them, "What do we want? What do you want from us?" They want action. So yeah, you can act, and I can act, but actually, what have we got to do from your perspective, from what you know, the work that you do and the communication that you have, both within government and out? What have we got to do to not do it for them and shout for them? What have we got to do to let them do that for themselves? What have we got to, because they have the intelligence, they have the energy, they have the willpower, they want to get stuck in, they want to act. What have we got to do?
Yeah.
What do you see?
You've touched on a major misconception about young people, especially on climate change. And I think they talked about it in an event that we've been to together, where the assumption was, how do we make sure that young people are well educated or climate literate? And to me, that's just completely the wrong question, because young people are climate literate. It's their parents and their grandparents that are not. So what can we do? Well, for the young people that are listening, I would say you have the intelligence, but you know people around you who have power. And I would encourage you to be talking to them, telling them what your concerns are, what your climate gloom worries are, and telling the people with power around you, any adults, anyone who has a vote, anyone who spends a pound, about where you want them to spend it, what you want them to be doing, because they're the ones right now that can take action for you. But for the adults who are listening and watching, I would say you need to spend some time listening to young people. And I use the word listening, not talking with, not talking to, listening, because the young people who are experiencing climate doom have realized the generations before them have already failed them. right? That's
Yeah.
where the grain of the truth of that doom is. Those generations have failed them. When they get to be adults, the world will not be as it is now. And so you need to sit down with them and talk to them about that, not just to help them grow through that anxiety, but also to figure out what you can do to help their generations. So listening is the word I would
So
use.
I'm going to say something now because I may be a little bit lost by it. I do recycle. I do a lot of the things that I feel like I'm doing for the environment. You know, I turn off all my lights for financial reasons as well.
Yep.
So the energy. What do I need to do on a regular daily basis to stop this from happening?
Okay.
Just from my perspective.
Do you have a pension?
No.
Okay. Do you have a bank account?
Yes.
Think about which bank you're banking with. Think about where their investments are made.
Wow, I didn't really think about that.
if
Follow the money,
all
man.
of the world were to stop investing in fossil fuels, then the fossil fuel companies would use all of their resources and their brain power towards something else.
Okay.
So it's removing the support from the things that we don't want to carry on.
See, I've never heard that term to be told. I've never
Yeah.
thought about
Always
it.
follow
That.
So
the money,
for most
yeah.
people, there is an element of, if you have a pension, it's invested in lots of different places. And
Right.
so if you can think about, hey, pension fund, I want you to think more about what those investments are, because there are companies around the world that are relying on that to continue creating carbon emissions.
But do you see? I suppose I would have put myself in the bracket probably 3 years ago of doom. 100% doom. I was in there.
Yeah.
I'm like, whoa, just being exposed to all of this. Okay, right, and there's nothing I can do about it. And now, I think looking at the market, I think there's a lot of funds with the way that the market has moved, with all of the geopolitical side of things. Actually, a lot of money is going towards those sort of businesses. I think it's moving that way. I feel like it's moved so much in the last 6 months, especially with. It can always move faster. It can always move faster, and we should push
It needs to be
faster.
faster.
But I do think that as young people start moving into these more leadership roles and getting more involved, I think they are driving the market in the right way. So I think we can be relatively optimistic to say that there are examples of businesses around the world, which is why I'm so passionate about CICs and social enterprises. The work we're doing with Together Culture, Social Enterprise East of England, to build social enterprise hubs and support challenges in our community to support themselves. That's where I'm like, it's interesting you say you've got to do both, because I would encourage a young person to go and start a business tomorrow that resolves a challenge in their community. They'll learn more about how they can actually take action, because the problem you have is spend the money, do that, you should do that, and actually the money will follow the money anyway. So it will be a great investment to invest in the right
Renewable
company.
energy.
Renewable energy,
Yeah.
green jobs. Much like I never bought gold, I would invest in the gold mine, because you never stop looking for gold. It's the same now with renewable energy.
Yeah.
Don't invest in the research companies. Put your money in the research companies that are trying to find renewable solutions. Happy days.
Let's think about it from a different point of view.
Yeah.
So if you're a young person and you live on an island in the South Pacific, you don't care where Alex is spending his money.
No.
You just don't want Alex to get in his car and drive from A to B and create more emissions.
Yeah.
Because the emissions we're creating here are disproportionately affecting other parts of the world.
Yeah, I get that. I get that.
So then let's take it hyper local. So in St. Neots, what can we do? Well, the people who understand that climate gloom or have felt that climate gloom are doing things. But there's a disproportionate number of people who are not. And I don't think that's because of any wish to do harm. It's from lack of knowledge.
Agree.
So how many people are there around you in your life personally who just don't know what's happening?
I'm the same. Well,
Yeah.
I understand what's happening with the climate and things need to change. I just don't know how to.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's an education thing. That's a conversation. That's a
So
move it to the top of the agenda. So
Yeah.
And I would say ask a young person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
one of the biggest takeaways from Anthropy was when I was part of a session which was about the future of enterprise 30 years from now, an actual conversation about the future of 30 years from now with the right people, those people that you're describing, the top of the chain when it comes to the businesses. And the biggest takeaway, if you care about it, stick it in the boardroom. If you care about sustainability, put nature in the boardroom. If you care about youth, put youth in the boardroom.
You could say the same about their accounts. Like if you want to know what a company really cares about, look at their accounts.
Yeah, follow the money, man.
Yeah.
Follow the money. It's, I want to. Yeah, I think we're aligned. We're 100% aligned.
So I guess I would ask people to take away two messages.
Yeah.
If you're an adult, find the young people around you and talk to them about this.
Oh, yeah, I'll speak to
because
some boys.
they can teach you, and we need to know their opinion. And if you're young people, find the adults around you and teach them because they need to listen.
I agree.
Yeah.
Ask them better questions. Ask them curious questions. If you're a coach,
Challenging questions.
Yeah,
I would say
exactly.
challenging questions. Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. So I'd love to know in the last 5 minutes we've got with you. I'd like to know a little bit more about you as a human.
Okay. Yeah.
Because you started very kind of. I wish you were mum first. I want to know about Lara and who you are as an individual and how did you get into it? Because we heard from Carl, you wanted to learn from Wanya.
Yeah.
It's really interesting in politics. Why did you choose this vehicle?
Okay.
And what led you there?
I'll try to do it in 5 minutes.
Yeah, sorry.
Because it actually links with mental health.
Okay, great.
So I am a mom. My son was born in 2016. And after he was born, I suffered with postnatal anxiety, postnatal depression, which is something that lots of people suffer with. So if you're out there,
Absolutely, yeah.
it's completely normal. More people just need to talk about it.
Great.
And so coming out of that, pandemic. And all of a sudden, the things that I'd kind of been interested in, environmentalism, politics, all the meetings were happening online. And as a young mom, I could go. And so then I learned about this whole new element of myself that I was interested in and that I wanted to pursue, especially right here in St. Neots. And nobody else was going to do it, right? So I wanted to find a really good green candidate and give them all my time and help them get elected. And on Love's Farm in Wintringham, it wasn't there. And so I was going to be the one who would have to do it. And when I looked at, baby, I got a son now, that's the thing I should be putting my energy into.
That's the trigger.
And so if we want to help the generations of the future and my own kid, then that's what I was going to have to do. So it wasn't I really want to be a politician, I want power. It's somebody's got to do this. So it was me.
So can I say, and you'll hear me say this a few times as you get to know me, I think the best leaders are reluctant leaders.
Yeah.
I think that, so my role as the chair of the St. Initiative, I said this story earlier to you.
Yeah, you did,
at 3 in the morning or something ridiculous when we got a bit deep, didn't it?
Dig it deep.
And I said to you, the St. Initiative has existed for 30 years. There's only ever been 4 chairs.
Yeah.
And when I put my hand up because no one else put their hand up.
Yes.
And my previous chair, Gordon, who's now my vice chair and soon to be treasurer, he only put his hand up because no one else put their hand up.
Yeah.
And when I asked John Davis 18 years back, he only put his hand up because no one else put their hand up. So I say, well done to you for putting your hand up when no one else will. Because there's not enough. Because everyone can do the hoorah change thing.
Yeah.
Who wants change? Everyone's seen the meme.
Yeah.
We all want change, but who's going to do it? Who's going to actually put some action? Who's going to lead?
So, and for me, all that anger that Greta represents in young people, they need people like us to be speaking out for them.
And it's our responsibility to lay the infrastructure to enable more people to do that.
Yeah.
And I think what's really interesting, and which I'm so glad you were after Carl, because Carl said at the end, he said about music and trap music, saying that what was it?
Drill,
sorry. I'm telling about
still with it.
You listening? When they're shouting what they're shouting into that microphone, and when they're saying what they're saying into that microphone, they're asking for help.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And in your example, that's just Greta's version of that.
Yeah.
And what she's saying is, we need help. And that's something that she's passionate about, and it's waiting for someone to come and listen.
I guess the last thing I would say, if I've got 1 minute left, is
please do. Yeah,
young people, when you're 16, register to vote.
Yeah.
And then when you're 18, you can vote right away. And if you're interested in politics, once you're 18, you can be a politician. We have district councilors that are 20 years old. Just being young doesn't mean you can't participate. And if you're interested in that, get in touch with me. and let's talk about it
bless
because
you.
I want to get more young people involved.
Absolutely. But again, from my point of view, I'd just like to know a lot more. I'd like to know what I can do to help because, again, the broadcast and the media at the moment, it says, yes, we need to do something to reduce the temperatures and all that. But they don't tell us how we're going to do that.
Just think one thing whenever you're thinking that. Stop burning stuff. That's all you need to think about. Every time you think, what should I do? Stop burning stuff.
Okay.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
That's a good point. And educate yourself.
It is. I need it.
In the sense, that's how it goes, isn't it? Like, whenever I get books, right, and a young person says to me about business, because it's always business, it starts with the business books. Which books shall I read? All of them. Every day. It doesn't end. The education, because it's going to change, man. Everything's going to change.
Absolutely will.
Yeah.
It? Thank you so much
That
for
was
coming in.
absolutely
Thank you
amazing.
for
Thank
having
you so
me.
much.
I might leave Greta here with
Yeah,
you.
please do,
Just to let her
no,
remind
we'll do,
you.
yeah.
I'll put her up somewhere so you can't forget about her, and she'll keep yelling at you all day.
That's fine. We
Done
get
with
enough
that.
of that. I get enough young people yelling at me every day. I love it. It's exactly what energizes me daily.
And then before you go, you must sign our shirt.
Oh yeah, you got to
Yes,
sign a
I
shirt.
will.
Right.
I will.
Brilliant. And Evelyn's just put a wonderful comment in there to say we need to bring more focused sustainability education to children from Key Stage 1, alongside teaching them about personal accountability. Kids can change not only our future, but also educate adults. Very often, there are stronger impacts on their adults than any publications in the media.
Yeah, I agree.
Absolutely super.
Boom. Love that. Thank you so much for coming
thank
on.
you so
Welcome.
much.
Right,
Love
we
that.
will be back in 4 minutes. I managed to gain a minute.
We're getting a
4
minute.
minutes. See you in a minute. Thanks, guys.